Hey everybody, it's Erik J. Olson again. I am here today with an old friend of mine, Brian Butler. Hey Brian.
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
So Brian and I went to high school together way back in the day. We went to Lake Braddock Secondary School in Burke, Virginia. And I haven't seen a whole lot of Brian since then, maybe a couple times through college, but I mean only maybe a handful or two. So what?
Did you go to the reunion?
I haven't been to a single one.
Oh, I was last.
Yeah, I guess you have though, huh?
I just went to the one.
Yeah.
And then the other one got canceled by Corona, so I think that's our 30? Is it our 30 year?
Yeah, don't say that. Yeah, no one needs to know that. 30 freaking years, man. It's crazy. All right. Hey, Brian, why don't you tell everyone what you do and a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Brian Butler, obviously, and then I have a business called SuckerPunch Entertainment. We specialize in managing professional MMA fighters. We have currently a roster of about 200 professional fighters around the world, and several of our fighters are signed to an organization called the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which has grown in popularity tremendously. So I'm sure most people have heard of that by now. But when I started this business, it was 13 years ago, and people were still kind of like thinking it was human cockfighting and things like that, so it's become more mainstream now with, ESPN picking it up and stuff like that. So yeah, basically if to the layman, I'm kind of like a Jerry Maguire-ish type of person for my athletes, and I represent them and I put them into the UFC. But I feel I don't like to say I all the time, because I do have partners and a strong team behind me that helps support everything. My partner Brian Hamper, I couldn't do it without him, and we're fortunate to be cranking up and busy through this entire pandemic.
Yeah. So how has that affected the UFC and just your business in general?
Well, I think it's affected everybody, in a way that everything shut down for a good period of time, and I think a lot of people are still kind of shut down and not doing as well as they were. For us, we've been fortunate. We have such a large roster of clients that are currently in the UFC, and the UFC was the first major sport to come back online. But it was shut down for, a better part of 2 months with nothing, no activity or anything. And, Dana White, he's a polarizing figure, but, got to give him credit for doing what he did to get everything back online. And the fights are happening now, but they're happening with no audience, just live for broadcast television. And since the UFC has come back pretty much every week except for this weekend, we've had multiple fighters on pretty much every single card every week. So
Nice. That's awesome. So so you've got the fights going on, you've got TV broadcast, and you got no audience there. I'm sure that changes the dynamics for the fighters. What about like just generally speaking, like finances? I would guess that a lot of the finances, a lot of the revenue that comes in is because of the TV broadcasting. Is that the majority of it?
I mean, that's not how our fighters get paid. Our fighters get paid, from the UFC directly. But I'm sure the UFC is affected drastically because
Gotcha. Okay.
UFC comes to town. It's a sellout of the major sporting arena in the area. So their gate is obviously something that is missing. But I think it's a trade-off, because with the UFC being pretty much the only sport back online, a lot more people that weren't paying attention to it before are paying attention to it now. For example, when everything was shut down, I could not believe that I found myself watching professional cornhole.
How was it? Are you hooked?
I was like, man, this kid's only 15. He's pretty good. But I mean, it was on ESPN. It was the only sport. Like, people were so starving for content and entertainment that people were watching professional cornhole.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So now the UFC is back, and it's opened itself up to a much broader audience than it used to have. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a very good thing for the sport.
Let's dive into that a little bit more in a second. But let me remind everyone: if you have a question, go to Facebook. If you're watching this somewhere besides Facebook, go to facebook.com/thisisarray/live. Put your question in there. Any questions about marketing? Brian has a lot of marketing experience. We're going to talk about that. Any questions about UFC, mixed martial arts, put them there, and we will ask it in the next 25 minutes. Oh, also, we are doing a little bit of a different giveaway. So I have a book that I just finished reading called Worth Doing Wrong, The Quest to Build a Culture That Rocks. If you're interested in that book, text in the word array to 757-333-3021. All right. Let's talk about like, yeah, the UFC and how they came back online, and what are they doing to like market to this? They have a new opportunity, it sounds like, right? Because you're either watching professional cornhole or you're watching like old reruns of, you know, previous football games or something like that, or you're watching UFC. Do you know if they're doing anything, or is the industry or the sport doing anything different now to try to get a hold of the demographics that like sports, but just maybe haven't tuned into UFC before?
I don't know if the UFC's got their hands full trying to, you know, put together these shows and comply with all of the rules and everything like that. But I think by default, you've got people like ESPN that have nothing else to put out there, and they're putting a heavy push on
Nice.
UFC. So I think that the synergistic relationship is just working beneficially for both sides. You know, UFC is busy working on getting everything that they need to do to pull a show off.
Right. All right. I don't know if I'm locked up or Brian is. Sean, can you hear me? All right. Brian is frozen. Gotta love it when you go live, man. All right. We will hang on for just 1 second for Brian to come back. In the meantime, if you do have a question, go to our Facebook, post it. So Brian's got a lot of experience with the UFC and managing UFC fighters. He also ran an ad agency for 13 years before that. So he brings a ton of marketing experience into the UFC, which is one of the things I want to talk about a little bit. It's a lot different. He brings a different skill set, I think, to the role of a manager because of his marketing and advertising background than other managers do. And it looks like his feed just dropped completely. Oh no. All right, we're just going to hang out for a second and see if he pops back in. In the meantime,
Erik, I can pop in the meantime and help you out. How's 4th of July Friday going for you? You got any good plans this weekend coming up?
hey Sean, I appreciate that, man. Way to jump in there for the team. That is a great question. What are my plans for this weekend? Besides training for the triathlon training, nothing. I got nothing planned, dude. Which means a whole lot of time in the backyard.
That's good. It's looking like we're gonna have a really nice weekend too. I know today it's very nice out. People are probably out there enjoying the sunshine and the grass, and if you're not, you definitely should later today because it is beautiful.
Have you been out yet?
I've been out to walk a dog, and that went very well. Hey, Brian, you're back.
Hey, sorry, I'm not sure what happened there, but I just pulled it up on my phone. Let me.
The joy of live broadcasting. I love it.
Right, sorry about that, guys.
Hey, no problem at all. I'm gonna let you guys get back to it, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the stream.
Oh, hold
Thanks,
on, I
Sean.
can get back on my computer.
Wait, Sean, don't go anywhere.
I will not go anywhere.
All right. There he is.
What happened there?
Cool, man. I don't know, dude. The internet does not like you right now.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Don't worry about it, dude. So, hey, let's jump back into so the UFC. So it sounds like the UFC's got an opportunity that places like ESPN are kind of like, well, they're giving them attention where they wouldn't normally get attention. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, have you been seeing more of it on television?
So no, because I don't watch TV, frankly.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm one of those guys. When the TV turns on, it's Netflix.
I got you.
Yeah. So what, ESPN? What about like the networks?
I mean, prior to being on ESPN, the UFC had a deal with Fox, so they were running their stuff on Fox. But I think since being on ESPN, it's it's even more mainstream. So, you know, right now they do ESPN. They have their own online network called UFC Fight Pass, which is like a Netflix. It's a subscription
Oh,
base.
nice.
And yeah, that's it. And now with the quarantine going the way it has been, everything being shut down, they own their own facility in Las Vegas, so they can really, you know, keep everything under control there. But they've also, you know, Dana has, you know, got a place called Fight Island
Yeah.
out in Abu Dhabi, which basically they've built this everything around. It's on Yas Island, right in Abu Dhabi, and they're going to be putting shows on there throughout July. So, and they're chartering flights to take all the fighters out there and doing everything. You know,
That seems like an interesting plan, considering you're going to get a bunch of people now and bring them all into one space. I would think it'd actually be more spread out.
Well, so prior to that, the people have to be quarantined. So everybody that's under contract with the fight right now has to be quarantined. Like right now, I've got Rose Namajunas, who is the fighting on July 11th. She's quarantined in Vegas. They flew her to Vegas. They quarantined her there, and they're testing her multiple times for the virus. And if she stays clean, she'll hop on the chartered flight, fly right into Abu Dhabi, go through the VIP immigration thing, which is an experience in itself, and then goes right to the safe zone on the island and stay there. So everybody touching foot into that safe zone on the island has been tested multiple times.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so I got a question here. So it's awesome that MMA is getting more spotlight right now. Have you seen any fighters in particular with their personal brand being able to take advantage of this time?
You know, the fighters that, so yeah, taking care of their personal brand, you know, most of that relies on their social media. And the fighters that have always been taking care of their brand are just continuing to do so. I mean, I don't know how to elaborate more on that question. Some people have a knack for it, some people don't. Some people need coaching, some people don't. You know, some people actually need to pull the reins back on them because they go a little too far with it, you know. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how to really answer that.
Well, I guess, are they doing anything different? It sounds like pretty much continuing to post on social media, continuing to be engaged with their fans.
Yeah, you know, a lot more people are going live. You know, in IG Live probably took a huge spike since the quarantines kind of started. But you know, other than that, people are trying to post as normally as they can. A lot of old stuff, you know, Flashback Fridays and Throwback Thursdays and stuff like that.
You know, what's crazy is we ran an ad for a nonprofit organization, and the ad that did the best had a picture of a bunch of people together, right? So it was like the summer party from last year, and it's always worked very, very well. And so that ad's been running still, and now people are commenting, "What about social distancing? You know, you're so close to one another. Where's the mask?" And it's like people forget almost that there was like this time before COVID where people got together, and it's like almost hard to fathom that picture could have been taken 4 months ago or a year ago, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like marketing for the fighters, you know, like on your feed, so actually before I get into like how it's done, are you focusing mostly on Instagram? Is that where you get like the most bang for your buck when it comes to social media?
Yeah, you know, Twitter people still use that, but basically people use Twitter to bitch. All they want to do is own event.
Yeah, you're pretty right about that.
Yeah, all they want to do is just type up some shit and just get people, you know, try to fire up the base. But I think Instagram is kind of where things have drifted to. Another thing that's taken off during the quarantine, just from my experience, is TikTok, believe it or not. You know, so TikTok has just gone nuts.
Have you started getting in on that?
Yeah. So I always knew TikTok to be this high school thing, and all the girls just get on there and dance and be done. But yeah, so now I started getting people sending me TikTok links of just like funny clips, and I was like, oh, and I'll scroll to the next one, and I find myself just watching it.
Yeah, for an hour.
And then you know, I was like, oh, screw it. So I tried. You know, I used to post my dog Chowder on Instagram story. And everybody would just like, it would be one of the most engaging things I did. People would comment back, "Oh my God, I love your dog. He's my spirit animal, this and this." And I'm just like, I'm posting my dog sitting on my cover of my pool. Like, go give him his own page. So I just posted one on TikTok because I just had an account that had no post on it. I posted a video there. Man, the Chowder is international now.
He's the shit, huh?
Oh, he's got a couple of videos that are almost at like 2 million views.
What? Are you
Yeah, I'm
serious?
not kidding. Yeah, he's got 1 million likes. A
Man.
couple videos at 1.1 million views. I mean, it's silly.
Is it his account or your account?
It's my account, but I only post him on there. So if you go to TikTok and it's at SuckerPunch ENT, but you'll see I just posted Chowder. And then if I don't post on him for a few days, I'll have fans from like Spain and Italy. Where's Chowder? We miss. I'm like, it's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? Oh my God, man. Dude, so many people are like, Eric, you got to start posting on TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to do like the song and dance and all that crap. And they're like, no, just post your normal shit. And like,
there's a lot of normal stuff on there, and it's pretty entertaining. That's why I think Instagram is kind of where I kind of took over for Twitter, because it's almost like, do you want to? I mean, I might sound like, because I don't read a lot of books, but I mean, I'd rather read a book that has some pictures in it than just a dictionary style book, right? I know, but I think that's why people like to have a little snapshot of the people they follow, of what their lives are like, which is why it's also important to make sure that you put some of that personal aspect in on your feeds.
So yeah, speaking of which, like for you, like about how much roughly do you like sprinkle in personal, and like how deep do you go with the personal?
I mean, it just depends. I mean, if something personal comes up that I think is funny, and I'll just put it up. I really don't try to overthink it. I know I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, I already posted once this week. I can't do it until 6 p.m. or something or other,
Don't worry about that.
How you doing? Ooh.
It happens.
Yeah, but I really don't overthink it. I in my head, I think of social media as, it's a snapshot into what my day-to-day life is like. If I feel like posting twice in a day, I'll post twice in a day. If I feel like posting once a week, I'll post once a week. I don't force myself to have a schedule. Like, I know, and I keep telling that to my clients a lot too, because a lot of them get hung up on, they believe they have the algorithm set in their head, or they believe this and this. And I'm like, man, just post when you want to post.
Yeah.
And just be organic and genuine with it. And, your fan base will be a fully organic, genuine fan base, as opposed to anything else that you might be trying to attract by posting with some algorithm.
Did you start on Twitter and then move over to Instagram?
I started on, my whole social history, probably MySpace, moved to
nice.
Moved to Facebook, and then to Twitter, and then to Instagram. I had Instagram downloaded for like the longest time, never used it. Didn't know. I thought it was just a camera app at some point. Early, and then people started using it, and then I, again, kind of like TikTok, I was like, oh, this is way better than Twitter, and I just started using it more. So
I noticed on your feed, which I have up right here, number one, a couple things. You're a blue check mark, which is pretty damn cool, man.
I don't know how that happened.
it just mysteriously showed up one day, huh?
It just showed up.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, it's also kind of surprising because it says, SuckerPunch ENT Entertainment, but then it has your name. So it's kind of like got both of those brands mixed in, the business brand and the personal brand.
Yeah, pretty accidental. Because when I started, like I said, I downloaded Instagram way before Instagram. I knew what it was. Like, nobody was really using it. I thought it was a camera app that had some cool filters. And when I did it, you had to create an account. So I just created it, as SuckerPunch, because that's what I was doing everything as, and not knowing that it would eventually become my business account. And then I think something happened where I started using it more, and then I started realizing that all these people were following me on it, but I wasn't using it for business. And I had my personal name up there, and the only pictures I had up at the time were personal. No business. So then I started mixing into business, and then the following started to grow a little bit more, and
it just works.
Yeah. So now when I go on the road, I a lot of people know me as my name, but then even other people, like fans of the sport, might be like, oh, it's SuckerPunch. My name's Brian, but
Oh, they think you're SuckerPunch. That's like your name.
I mean, in a way I am, but
yeah.
I just
Yeah.
never changed my handle. And then I got the blue check, and I'm like, well, if I change it now, am I going to screw anything up?
Oh yeah. No, that's cool.
I just let it ride.
But then I also noticed like so you have a lot of really high quality images up there. Are you making these yourself, or do you have like a marketing person do that?
So my business before this was, I had an ad agency for 13 years, and I graduated from VCU with a graphic design and marketing degree. So for me, I just make those myself really quick on the phone.
Nice. That's impressive, man.
Yeah, there's what you can do on an iPhone these days is pretty crazy, and they
That is
literally
crazy.
take me 30 seconds to do.
Is that right? Damn, that's cool, man. I figured you had like a marketing person at Sucker Punch or an agency or something like that, because I mean it looks really good. Like good
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I know that's what I'm saying. Like based with my business being what it was the last time, I know what kind of looks and works, without having to go all the extra step. Like a lot of people think that, oh, you have to, do this and do. I'm like, 90% of the population is going to think this looks professional.
That's right. That's right.
Do it like that.
Yeah. So yeah, how did you transition from being a graphic designer into an MMA agent?
So I had my other business, and that put me behind a computer and on a desk a lot. And I wanted to do something to get in shape. I was getting what I call computer body. And so I found just down the street from my house, I saw this martial arts gym, but there was a boxing ring in it, and I could see it from the street. And I was like, because I did traditional martial arts growing up as a kid, but it just bored me doing like
Karate.
you just katas and stuff like that. It wasn't functional. But I also am not a big fan of running on the treadmill and doing all that stuff. So when I saw the boxing ring in there, I was like, oh, this might be fun. So I went in, signed up. It was in Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the coach there, after a few months, he realized that I had this marketing business, and he asked me if I would help him promote and market a local small fight show in the city. And I said, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not paying any more gym dues. That'll be my trade, my contribution. So he agreed to that. And the first thing I did was me and my friend and partner at the time, Brandon Montijo, he had the production side of things. We put our heads together and all of our resources and made this fairly big show out of a nothing small show. And on the marketing side, I brought in a well-known fighter, which I knew all the fans would like to meet. His name was Jens Pulver. He's the first UFC lightweight champion, and he was currently at the time a cast member and head coach of the show The Ultimate Fighter. So I brought him in as a special guest to attract fans, because come meet Jens Pulver and watch some great fights and sign autographs, yada yada. And Jens and I hit it off really well. And Jens kind of told me right away, he's like, man, the sport needs somebody like you. He's like, everybody thinks the UFC is big, but everything else outside of the UFC is like your friend's sister, your mom's buddy, and this, And he's like, I'm getting ready to make my comeback to fight for the Zuffa promotion. Zuffa was who owned the UFC. Again, he's like, Brian, would you represent me and be my agent? And then I was like,
you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I was a fan. I'd known Jens from way back. I watched the UFC from the very beginning, so I knew Jens Pulver. To me, I was a fan of Jens. When he asked me that, I like freaked out. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Had no clue what I was doing. And then when we went to his return fight, and it was in WEC, which was owned by the UFC and Zuffa at the time. He fought a guy named Cub Swanson, and I had Jens. I was like, in my head at the time, fighters were coming out in green shorts with a red shirt and black banner behind. Everything was just hodgepodge. So when I envisioned Jen stepping into the cage, I wanted him to look like, like remember when you had your G.I. Joe toys and it came in the cardboard package and everything matched the background illustration and the snake eyes in the package. I wanted Jen's looking packaged up. So I designed his entire outfit, the logos, the sponsors that were on him that I did get, and the banner that he stands in front of to represent his sponsors. So he came out looking like a straight up action figure, and everybody was like, who's working with Jens, because I also had him non-traditional sponsors. I had a Call of Duty, Activision and Call of Duty, the video game, PC Gamer, Paramount Pictures with the movie Cloverfield, and So he made a big impact. He won the fight, and then everybody recognized what he had on him, and that, you know, all these other fighters started asking him, and he introduced me to a couple of people. I met another fighter who called me the next week, and one client led to another client, led to another, and the hobby just grew. And it was actually pretty kind of scary because, you know, my ad agency was up here. You know, my income and everything from my ad agency was up here. Did I lose you again?
No, I'm here.
Okay. And then the hobby was down here,
Yep.
but I was really
Yep.
passionate about both. I loved having my ad agency. Is what I graphic design, marketing, that's my thing, you know. But I also was really passionate about this, but this wasn't making me enough money, you know. So I just kept saying, you know, if I keep walking through I'm going to keep walking through the doors. And if any door shuts in my face, I'm just going to run back to the ad agency and focus on that. Well, that was a problem because the doors never shut. The doors just kept opening, but they weren't opening fast enough for me to make money. And my ad agency was really suffering because my attention wasn't there anymore. It was down here. But I really did feel I was on the onto something. I felt like I was like the janitor at AOL before AOL blew up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm in early, and so I stuck with it. And I think 2 years in, there was a point where I was paying. So I had a couple of properties, and I had to pay the mortgages on both properties on credit cards for like 9 months, and it was scary and stressful. But I just I felt like I was on to something, and 2 years in, I just decided I shut the doors on the ad agency, and I went full bore
Oh, wow.
into SuckerPunch, which at that time I was way too old to be starting over, you know. And then before I knew it, like 1 month, all the bills were paid. And then I was like, I was like, oh, you know, and then I didn't want to jinx it. So I didn't say anything. And then the next month the bills were paid again. And I was like, you know, and I, to this day, I'm still on that mindset. Like, oh, the bills are continuing to be paid. Like, I don't even know when I turned the corner, but everything started growing and coming together well. And, you know, now today, you know, SuckerPunch is one of the most recognized management companies in the entire sport. So
And yeah, and you were acquired a couple of years ago, right?
we were acquired, but I acquired myself back.
Oh,
Yeah. So we did that, and I made sure we were protected. We were acquired by AMMA, which was traded on the NASDAQ. And I made sure that I had protection because there was some things going on internally with that company that were out of my control, and I could see it happening, but I made sure that we were papered up in a way that if anything went south, I could get everything back.
is that right? Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it worked out great because I basically got bought twice.
Hey, one thing I wanted to touch on is the T-shirt represented. So, you know, I've known Brian for a long time, as I said in the very beginning, and I've always seen him with represented or a hashtag represented. And I've told my guys over the years many, many times, like I always say, there's this guy I know, and he uses this hashtag represented, and he gives T-shirts to his clients, and he uses it everywhere. And I think it's freaking awesome. And I want something like that. And actually, I went to your feed a while ago, probably about 3 months ago, and I was like, I wonder if Brian's still using that. If he dropped it, I want to pick it up. I think it's awesome. So, like, where did that, like, how did that come about? And like, it's been going on for a long time too.
Yeah, well, it's kind of our tagline now, but it basically started because when I got into management of fighters, I thought, well, this is martial arts. It's going to be, everybody's going to be really respectful, you know, martial arts, you know.
Sure.
Well, it took me just a few months to realize that there were so many shady, snaky people in this business, like the boxing promoters. MMA has the same thing. Managers in general, shady people, you know. So I'm automatically categorized in the side of an industry that is stereotyped as, you know, a shady person. So it was my goal to make sure that I did not, that's the one thing I'm really proud of, is that you'll never see a mark on our record anywhere. Everybody knows we're you know, one of the most legit people out there. But all these other shady managers, they're always trying to steal your fighters. You know, you work hard, you build them up from a small show to get them to a big show, and then they get the used car salesman that comes in and is like, I can promise you the moon, you know, with this and this and this and this. And there was a couple of these guys that kept doing it to me, and then it was kind of like my subtle FU to them. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, let people know that if you're a sucker punch guy, I'm gonna let people know you're represented. you know. So
Nice.
I created the shirt that said represented, and then all my fighters started wearing it. So then whenever a shady manager would come up to them, they'd be, you know, they got it on, they're already represented, get the heck out of here, you know. And it stuck. And so now I have, you know, that as our kind of our hashtag and our tagline when we sign somebody. But I also have created gear. You know, I've got the glove and all that stuff that I give to them. You know, just little marketing perks that I think set us apart from everybody else.
Yeah, I've seen the gloves too. Those are super nice, man. You've done a good job.
Yeah. The represented is my FU back to the people that try to poach.
You know, but that's interesting because I kind of do the same thing. So when it comes to, you know, advertising and marketing, which is what we do, I tend to kind of pick fights with the big folks, you know. So like the TV stations are constantly calling our clients and telling them how great they are, and so like I kind of poke back, you know. And there's a lot of holes in TV and newspaper, and they're the ones that I go after all the time. So I think when it comes to kind of like even as a personal brand in general, I think it's okay, maybe even advisable to kind of poke at other people in your industry, especially the ones that are bigger, the ones that you don't think are really doing the right thing.
Oh, I do it all the time. I mean, listen, if you establish yourself, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to come out of the gates poking, but I think that if you establish yourself and you get a reputation that you're, you know, you're not going anywhere and that you've done good for people, at that point, I think it's okay for you to stand your and say things. I do it all the time. I've got, you know, this other management company that they're actually a big company as well, but they operate like the sleaziest people in the business. And you know, I don't know. I think I blew them up on social media just a couple of weeks ago. Like, you know,
I thought,
yeah, like I don't care.
oh yeah,
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And the guy's such a scumbag.
Oh no, did we lose Brian again?
And I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do? You're gonna try to fight me in a lobby? Like, come on, man.
Poke the bear, man. All right, Brian. Well, hey, it is a little bit past 12:30. I've taken up about 45 minutes of your time total, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to cover that we haven't already covered?
No, I don't think so. I think that was a pretty fun interview. Just got some fights coming up all through July, every weekend, starting July 11th. You'll see a bunch of our clients.
That's awesome. Yeah. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how could they find you online?
You can get a hold of me on Instagram or Twitter, or, you know, at SuckerPunch ENT.
Awesome. Everybody, go check out Brian. Hey, Brian, I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Hold.